Do you ever wish your day wasn't dictated by your health? Are you tired of being tired all the time, or is pain holding you back from enjoying your time with your family? Would you like to manage your symptoms holistically, but you just don't know where to begin? I am so excited that you're here. This podcast will help you understand how natural remedies work so you can relieve your symptoms and live a fuller life. My name is Penny. I'm an occupational therapist, past pharmaceutical rep, a mom, and a wife with a strong faith, and for 25 years, I battled through debilitating Crohn's disease. I took all the medicine and did all the surgeries that stole so much time with my family, but never truly healed me. I finally realized if I was going to survive this disease, I needed to open my stubborn eyes to alternative solutions. I researched how perfectly our bodies work with plants and a lifestyle that made my health less of a burden to my family and aligned so beautifully with my faith and my medical training. If you're ready to reclaim your life with holistic options that are easy to implement as a busy mom and provide relief that lasts, this is the podcast for you. Hello, Becoming Natural fans. This is Penny, your host of Becoming Natural. I am so excited that you are back this week. Thank you so much for spending time with me. This week's episode, we've been talking a lot lately about some things, and I decided we're just going to talk about our language in our body. So this is episode 68, Listening to Your Body, the strong language that you have for quality of life. I often refer to listening to your body, and in the last few episodes, I have certainly emphasized it more through our binders and through toxins and things that we were talking about. So I realize that perhaps someone who is more on the healthy side may not completely understand what that means or how it feels to have to listen to your body and listen to your symptoms. I had a GI doctor once that told me that his Crohn's patients were his most reliable patients when reporting our symptoms because we were forced to listen to our bodies. I knew exactly where my food was at any given moment because as it passed through a narrowing or a stricture in Crohn's terminology, it hurt like the dickens. So I knew where that food was at all times. And I had multiple strictures between my stomach and my colon. So I learned more about my bowels and bowel movements than I ever wanted to know, more than anybody wants to know now. But more commonly, say you have a headache. Do you reach for your pill bottle or do you think, oh, maybe I should have some more water? A headache is the body's native language. It's calling for attention for a reason. But many of us, self-included, think, oh, I'm just going to take an ibuprofen. That's what I need. When what if we really just need to drink more water and the headache is rooted in dehydration? And what we don't know is when we take that ibuprofen, it's called a pusher. It actually pushes into our cells instead of allowing us to detox and get rid of things. So what if that headache was caused by the dehydration, or what if that headache was hormonal in nature or a reaction to food that you're eating? I know that's how my sister figured out that she was celiac. She was having migraines. It was not related to her head at all. It was actually related to her diet. So what about joint pain? This is a big one. My rheumatologist told me my joint pain was due to having multiple autoimmune diseases and I would be on pain meds for life. I changed my diet and without a single pill, and cold turkey might I add, off pain pills, my debilitating joint pain disappeared within a week. A week, my friends. Do not accept age as the norm for pain. Aging means we are increasing our toxin load maybe, but getting old does not mean that we have to have all the things and the joint pain. Joint pain for me was a sign that my body was overtaken by yeast. As you age, people typically get joint pain, but that's an increased toxin load. You need to look at your diet. You need to look at anti-inflammatory options for your body that you're not giving it. That's a little form of the way that we treat our bodies poorly, is if we're not actually realizing we're doing something to cause that joint pain. I shared with you when we were talking about L-theanine a few weeks ago that my friend's stomach pain, which wasn't GI related at all, it was her body that had been whispering for over a year with a little burning here and there that turned into shouting with her curled up in a ball in terrible stomach pain and nausea. Her body was overwhelmed. Her stomach pain started out as a warning sign to slow down her nervous system, to give her body some stillness. But she muscled through, took a few antacids, and weeks turned into months, and the whisper eventually became something she could no longer ignore. And her anxiety was actually the issue, and it had been pushed to the back burner for far too long. Isn't it interesting how that often happens? Have you ever noticed that our bodies are incredibly polite? They rarely barge into the room yelling. More often, they tap us gently on the shoulder, a little tension in your neck, an afternoon slump that makes you wonder if somebody quietly swapped out your brain. Or we might think that, oh, maybe I'm getting sick, maybe something's coming on, and we push it off. A knee that pops when you stand and you pause just long enough to think, oh, that was new. I haven't felt that before. Nothing dramatic, nothing urgent, so we just keep moving. Because if you're anything like me, and most women I know, you probably didn't grow up being taught how to understand your body. You were taught how to be dependable, how to be strong, how to care for everyone else, and how to finish what you started, even when your tank was running low. And we run that risk a lot as moms. Somewhere along the way, pushing through started to look like maturity, and not pushing through did not win you any stars for being Mother of the Year or Employee of the Month. You just keep swimming. That became our motto. But what if those small sensations are not just inconveniences, but invitations to say, look over here? Your body is not interrupting your life. It is trying to preserve it. Remember how we said that our body is always working towards preservation. We have to remember that. Psalm 139 tells us that we are fearfully and wonderfully made. And I don't believe that is just spiritual poetry. I believe it's biological truth. The body is intentional, it is thoughtful, it is constantly communicating with us. We have to listen. Scientists use the word interoception to describe the internal awareness. Your brain is always receiving updates constantly from inside your body. Hunger, thirst, tension, fatigue, even that quiet sense that says, maybe I need to slow down today. Maybe I'll take the day off. So when many people don't realize this, that the pain is rarely the beginning of the disease process. Pain is usually what happens when earlier messages didn't get much attention. Not because you failed, but because the body loves you enough to get louder and louder and louder the more necessary it becomes. The body will whisper for as long as it can. And we will continue to ignore it. But love eventually raises its voice. Our body loves us. It wants attention. It wants to be healed, and it wants to preserve us and keep us safe. That is not deserting you. That is your body going into protective mode. When you really stop to think about it, it feels an awful lot like mercy. God designed feedback into our bodies long before something breaks. Isn't that amazing? When did we forget this language? So you watch a toddler for 5 minutes and you'll see it clearly. When they're tired, they melt down. When they're overstimulated, everybody in the room knows. When something feels off, they do not power through to prove a point. They throw a temper tantrum and they could scream and cry until they just go kaput. They respond, they melt down, always indicates nap time for a toddler, does it not? Yet we, as we grow, many of us drift away from that awareness, not intentionally, but gradually, or we muscle through that fatigue and deprive our body of the rest that it desperately needs. We don't throw those tantrums. Most of us don't. But we don't throw those tantrums, and we don't just go to sleep out of exhaustion. We just push and push and push through all the signs that our body is giving us. We skip meals when we're busy. We stay up too late because it's the only quiet we get. Oh gosh, speaking to the choir, we call exhaustion normal, or we put a badge of honor on ourselves because we've worked so hard and we stayed up so late and we get up so early. We treat tension like it's simply part of adulthood. And slowly we stop recognizing the language that our bodies are speaking. That language is lost in translation and it falls on deaf ears. It is our native language, our language of our body. But here is the hopeful part. The brain is amazingly adaptable, which means it can relearn what was forgotten. There's a phrase in neuroscience that says neurons that fire together wire together. I know, that's like nerdy science jokes. But Whatever we spend time practicing becomes easier for the brain to continue. Be that listening to the whispers, learning good habits, letting go of old habits, and fixing what needs to be fixed before that whisper becomes shouting. So when you repeatedly override the need for rest, your brain adjusts. When you ignore tension, it adapts. When you push past fatigue, it learns how to work around it. Your brain is not trying to sabotage you. It is trying to help you survive the life that you have shown it. I'm feeling very convicted right about now. But when quieter signals don't seem to shift your pace, when those signals don't cause you to change directions, the brain has a way of increasing the volume slowly and steadily. So think of a smoke detector. It doesn't begin with the blaring alarm. First, there's the faint smell. Then maybe there's a little bit of smoke. The alarm is escalation. It is not the beginning. It is not the introduction. Our bodies tend to operate much the same way. So we have a cost of living in our constant go mode, as I would say. Many women are not struggling because we are weak. We are tired because we have been strong for too long without enough support for our bodies. God designed our nervous systems with two beautiful rhythms, one for action and one for restoration. The action state releases stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, helpful chemicals that allow you to meet deadlines and care for your family and respond when life demands something quickly. And there are absolutely times when we have to drop everything and run. My son called me on the way to school this week. Mom, I just got in a car accident. And that was a jolt out of bed. We have that in our bodies to protect us and to help us kick it into gear really fast when we need to. But when that state quietly becomes our permanent mode of operation, the body begins prioritizing survival over maintaining good quality health. Things like our digestion will slow down in response to that. Sleep becomes lighter, inflammation can rise, clear thinking becomes harder to reach. It's amazing to think that these things are what happens to us, and we don't connect them at all to the fact that we are living in constant state of go. We are not connecting that if we are constipated, that means possibly that we are in the constant state of go mode and pushing ourselves too hard. We don't connect these to each other. Have you ever walked into a room and completely forgotten why you were there? All the time. Or what my family calls giving a mouse a cookie. I am a champ at this. I head to get something in the basement and I check the mail on the way. I open the bills and then I go to the computer to respond to a letter that I received from insurance. And before I know it, I'm cleaning out my inbox and realize that I never responded to the letter or made it to the basement. Please tell me that I am not alone. This is my daily life. This is not losing my edge. Often it is a brain that has been running in high alert mode for too long. Under stress, blood flow actually shifts towards safety centers and away from the thoughtful planning parts of your brain. I love this. This is amazing. It's something I kind of learned a little bit. Your body is not malfunctioning. It is actually protecting you. This is an amazing example of how our bodies work to protect us, because when that blood flow favors survival centers over our prefrontal cortex, people commonly experience brain fog, thoughts feel slower, harder to organize, forgetfulness. You know the word, but you can't grab it. Emotional reactivity. Smaller things feel much bigger than they normally would. Go back to L-theanine. Maybe we need L-theanine there. Shorter patience, because regulation requires that prefrontal support. Decision fatigue. Even simple choices feel oddly exhausting. This is why a chronically stressed person is not functioning at their intellectual best, not because they lack the capability, but because their brain is protecting them. That blood has moved away from those places to support and nourish the most important parts of our brain when we're under that high level amount of stress. You're not losing capacity. Your brain is reallocating its resources. Still, we were never designed to live as though every day were an emergency. Even Jesus stepped away from the crowds that needed him. If the Savior of the world did not heal everyone in a single afternoon, we can loosen our grip on the belief that we must do everything without pause. Rest is not a sign that you're falling behind, and it may be the very place that God is catching up with you. So we have many signals that we tend to wave off. Many of the sensations we minimize are simply early expressions of a body asking for care. Fatigue is often one of the first, and it can reflect a nutrient need, accumulated stress, hormonal shifts, or just the honest reality that being human requires repair. Fatigue is not a character flaw, it is our communication in our native language. And so often we go so long not feeling well that we forget what normal feels like. So maybe we don't even think we're fatigued. And then all of a sudden we sleep until noon one day. Our body is screaming, "Take care of me." Brain fog often follows. Your brain uses tremendous energy, and when those resources are stretched too thin from poor sleep, inflammation, or emotional strain, it creates a protective buffer. Instead of criticizing yourself, it can be far more life-giving to gently wonder what support might help. Even the pops and the clicks during movement are frequently less about damage and more about adaptation. Muscles tighten when the nervous system senses strain. Connective tissues become less elastic under chronic stress or even dehydration, and the body adjusts to guard you. Protection, again, it is not betrayal. It is not our body falling apart intentionally. It's trying to protect us by reallocating those resources. And the skin is quite fascinating. Research shows stress alone can increase histamine release, meaning emotional load can quite literally show up on the surface of our skin. So when the brain senses pressure, it signals the immune system to become more alert, and specialized cells in the skin release histamine, the same chemical evolved in our allergic reactions, which can lead to itching, redness, hives, or flare-ups of conditions like eczema or psoriasis. It's one of the clearest reminders that our bodies are deeply connected. What we carry emotionally is not separate from what we experience physically, no matter how hard we try to deny it. Sometimes the skin isn't just reacting, it's revealing that the nervous system has been holding more than it was meant to carry. Our design, by nature, is beautifully integrated. No part of our body ever operates in isolation. Isn't that amazing just to sit and think about? Yet many of us, we don't pause until something dramatic demands it. A migraine, an injury, a moment when the body says, we really can't keep this up. But those moments are often the final paragraph of a conversation that began way earlier. It could have been years. Burnout rarely arrives suddenly. It is usually the echo of signals that we learned to ignore. So, I want to speak gently to the woman who has been telling herself, this is just what adulthood is like. This is just like what it feels like to be old. The one who is always a little more tired than she lets on. The one who keeps showing up beautifully for everyone else while quietly hoping someone might notice she's carrying too much. My friend, your strength was never meant to require your depletion. I think every mom in the world needs to hear this. You are allowed to care for the body that carries your calling. Rest is not a reward. It is by design. It is by design. Healing, immune balance, hormone regulation, cellular repair, all of these flourish when the body feels safe. You cannot rush your way into restoration. At some point, if rest is continually postponed, the body may insist upon it, not as punishment, but as a final mode of protection. Sabbath was never about restriction. It was created with sustainability in mind. So we need to return to the language that we once knew in our genes. It's been a long time ago, but as little kids, we knew it and we responded to it. Before this sounds like one more thing to manage, let me ease your heart, because this is not about being hyper aware or hyper focused or being a hypochondriac. Start with curiosity instead of criticism. Rather than asking, why is my body doing this to me? Try wondering, what might this be pointing towards? Small, caring responses matter more than dramatic life overhauls. These quiet choices send a powerful message through the entire nervous system, and over time, the brain will reshape its expectations based on what it experiences consistently. Scripture tells us in 1 Corinthians 6:19 through 20 that our bodies are indeed temples, not something to ignore, not something to push past, but something worthy of tending to and treating with respect, not because we worship our body, but because we honor the God who designed our body. When we stop treating the body like a machine to manage and begin receiving it as a message to steward and a gift of life, everything about our care becomes just a little bit more gentle. Please don't let me lull you to sleep here. This is such great information that I firmly believe everyone needs to hear. Your body is not working against you. It is working for you in thousands of unseen ways. Change the way that you think about your body. It's not falling apart. It is screaming at you for protection. Those early nudges are not to be annoying interruptions in your day. They are grace. They are gifts saying, hey, I need a break, or hey, check this out. Evidence of a creator who built feedback into your design so that immediate breakdown would not have to be the first signal. Could you imagine if everything we went through, we were immediately on death's doorstep or in an emergent situation? God is present even here in the design, in the signaling, in the invitation to care for what He has entrusted to you. You have been entrusted with this incredible vessel, the very body God chose for you to live this life in. And if we're honest, many of us haven't always treated it with the care that it deserves. Sometimes we push it, ignore it, or fill it with things that don't truly support it. Stewardship goes beyond what we eat or how we rest. It also includes what we allow into our minds, what we watch, what we listen to, what we absorb throughout the day. These are not neutral inputs. They shape our nervous system. They influence our stress levels and affect how our bodies respond. Protecting the body isn't only physical. It is also about guarding the environments that we create for our hearts and for our minds, because the brain is always listening to what you allow in, and the body responds accordingly. So this week, choose one sensation you've been brushing aside. Nothing dramatic, just something small. If you don't have anything to address, count your blessings. That's amazing. And be mindful in the future of those tiny whispers, an itch here, an ache there. They're not random. It's a language that we simply have to relearn and respond to. Respond with kindness where you can this week to your own body. You don't have to overhaul your life overnight. Just become a little bit more present, more aware, because very often when we recognize the language early, the body never needs to raise its voice. And the future you will be eternally grateful to the current you for stopping and correcting what needs attention to redirect your body down a healthier path. It may seem small and tiny or insignificant now, but what is a small whisper now can creep up and become an alarming siren if it continues to be dismissed. Thank you so much, Lord, for the wisdom woven into our bodies, responsive, protective, and capable of renewal. Teach us to move at a pace that allows us to notice your design in us. Give us discernment to care for ourselves without guilt, and the freedom to embrace rest as part of the rhythm you created from the beginning. Amen. If something in today's conversation spoke to your heart, consider sharing it with someone who may need that same encouragement. And if this podcast has been a steady voice in your week, leaving a rating or review is one of the kindest ways that you can help it reach more women. Thank you so much for being here this week, for spending part of your day with me, for taking small, faithful steps towards living well. Keep becoming, my friends. Keep becoming one small step at a time. Have a good week. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you've enjoyed today's episode, hit that follow button, leave a 5-star review if you're so willing, and help spread the message of Becoming Natural by sharing it with a friend. Check out the resources in the show notes and join the email list to stay on top of all the latest and greatest happenings at Becoming Natural as we roll out exciting new things while we grow. Until next time, take those baby steps to a more natural life and always give yourself grace. Progress, not perfection, is the goal. See you next week.